board meeting to order. And if you would, please rise and stand as we receive the posting of the color.
Color bearers, ready to move? Move. Ready, halt. Prepare to post the colors. Ready, post. Ready, recover. All uniformed personnel, present arms.
Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms. Prepare to move, move.
Would you all please remain standing as we recognize those that have passed this last month as our sisters and brothers, our names are read by PIO.
Since we gathered here last month, we have lost 15 more of our fellow firefighters in the line of duty. That brings the total to 111 lost souls this year, both volunteer and career. The names this month, from August 9th, Robert J. Smith, 71 years old, occupational cancer, from Toronto, Ontario. August 13th, Thomas Wilson Berry III. He was electrocuted on scene of a MVA when utility poles snapped and fell on him, 23 years old. On August 14th, William Cody Trakt, heat exhaustion during training in a fire academy, 26 years old. August 16th, Kyle Hurd, a medical emergency, 43 years old, Santa Rosa, California. August 21st, Matthew A. Galena, occupational cancer, 48 years old, from Virginia Beach, Virginia. August 27th, James Hall, a medical emergency, 56 years old, Dade County, Florida. September 2nd, Don Martin, occupational cancer, 63, our brothers and sisters at Mountain View Fire here in Erie, Colorado. September 4th, Christopher Eddy, on the fire ground, an explosion during a tractor-trailer fire, 35 years old, Greensboro, Georgia. September 4, Daryl K. Helton, an unknown medical emergency, collapsed on the scene of a fire, 49 years old, Belfry, Kentucky. September 7th, Charles King, occupational cancer, 45 years old, Lake Ozark, Missouri. September 12th, Thomas Ray Patterson, unknown. He died shortly after responding to 2 calls, 74-year-old, Lewisburg, North Carolina. September 13th, Larry Dean, of occupational cancer at 65 years old, from Salem, Oregon. September 17th, Kyle Brinker, at a medical emergency during training, 33 years old, Kansas City, Missouri. September 19th, Gregory S. May of occupational cancer at 62 from Mobile, Alabama. September 23, Timothy Hall, in a medical emergency during training, 59 years old, from West Sacramento, California. And although not a line of duty death, we also want to honor our brother at a neighboring fire department, Arvada, Kyle Trombley, who was killed August 25th in an off-duty motor vehicle accident. He was 34 years old. And last but certainly not least, since we are taking a moment to honor people behind most of our firefighters, our family and partners who love them very much, and they're a reason that we can do what we do. So we would like to also honor Carol Fabry during this moment of silence.
Thank you very much. We'll call our 4 members. We're all here tonight. I see everybody is present. As we proceed into our next agenda item, are there any additions or deletions? Sorry, I got ahead of myself there. We want to recognize some very important people tonight before we go into the approval of the agenda. Chief Ware and our honor guard and our illustrious PIO Urban are going to recognize some significant events that took place and those very important people that were a part of these events.
Okay, tonight we are presenting, well, 3 awards, but unfortunately we don't have one of the recipients here. So we're going to save one of those awards for a JEFCO deputy who will hopefully be able to join us at our next meeting. He's not coming, correct? Is that accurate? Okay. All right, so you may hear this story again next month, but it's important that we honor who is here. So we are actually presenting an award tonight to a citizen of our district. The awards tonight and next month are the result of the same 9/11 call that took place on July 13th, 2024. The 2 awards that will be given tonight, the first one is called the Civilian Courage and Life Safety Award. And this is really significant because this is the first time that Elk Creek has ever given this award to a civilian. So this recipient will be the first. The Civilian Courage and Life Safety Award is given to civilians whose actions went above and beyond the reasonable expectations of a civilian, demonstrating bravery and courage in the preservation of life, and doing so even with significant risk to their own personal safety. The second award that we will be presenting to the same individual this evening is the Phoenix Award for Life Saving. That award is a life-saving commendation awarded to those directly involved in the successful resuscitation efforts, or ROSC, of a pulseless apneic, not breathing, patient while operating in the field and in a pre-hospital setting. Today's recipient of the Phoenix Life Saving Award demonstrated professionalism, competency, and teamwork. Because of their efforts, interventions, and skills, the patient was discharged from the hospital with little to no neurological or physiological deficits. Therefore, pardon me. So here's a story for you. On July 13th, 2024, the Jefferson County Sheriff was among the agency's dispatched to the report of a structure fire. Upon arrival, one of the first arriving deputies found a house fully involved with fire. At the same time, a neighbor from the area saw the home on fire and immediately ran to the house to help. When the deputy and the neighbor reached the home, they found an individual on the ground who was not breathing and had no pulse. The individual had apparently collapsed right outside the window after escaping from the home. The deputy and the neighbor worked together to pull the individual away from the burning home and then begin CPR before responders arrived on scene. Upon arrival of EMS, the deputy and the neighbor achieved ROSC, or return of spontaneous circulation, and the patient was transported emergently to the hospital. This patient was released several days later with no deficits. So, we would like to call up Ryan Smith, a citizen of the Elk Creek Fire Protection District, to receive the first ever Civilian Courage and Life Safety Award. There you go. And you guys stick around because you get another one. So this is the Life Safety Award, or this is the Civilian Award, and Ryan's also receiving the Phoenix Award because he participated in CPR and helped this this person survive. And that is one of the.
Yeah, big day. Thank you, everyone. You know, I'm deeply honored by this and touched. I didn't really prepare anything to say, but I would just say that, you know, that this is how we take care of our community. And any one of us could have been in that situation, and any one of us could rise to that occasion. So thank you all. Thank you all for this. It was a great honor.
You're gonna need a shopping cart for all this.
And we will honor a deputy rank next month with these deputies.
And I don't want to miss this opportunity for us all to recognize what we just witnessed. It was the very first presentation of colors by our new honor guard. The honor guard was incorporated with the chief's direction along with other partners. Chief, would you like just to give a quick history so everybody understands how we have come together with our new honor guard?
Yes, the history of the honor guard, it's kind of gone off and on for a number of years. Firefighter E.T. LeBaron wanted to start it up again and head the whole thing up. And he wanted to be inclusive of all the mountain agencies. So we have a number of agencies participating, career, volunteer, throughout, up and down the corridor. And over the last year and a half or so, they've done a tremendous job. They've completed the Honor Guard Academy with Arvada, and they are participating in a number of events. It's all due to LeBaron. Ryan LeBaron has done a tremendous job setting it up. So kudos to him.
Yes, please extend our appreciation for that. It was beautiful. And I really, thank you, Ryan. I saw a masked man back there. But thank you for all your efforts in doing that and representing this and the other departments that are a part of your team. So thank you. All right. We are going to lead into any additions or deletions into the approval and into the approval of the agenda once we find there's any changes to the next section.
Modify password?
Yeah, the password is welcome.
Sorry for the disruption.
No, that's all right. Any additions or deletions to the agenda?
None.
Nice time. Additions, deletions? All right, we'll accept the agenda as presented. And that leads us into public comment. Could I get one of you guys to grab the, thank you, Chief. For those, a lot of new faces tonight. We have a somewhat new program. It's a process that is consistent throughout it's a consistent program where we allow the public to speak for 3 minutes. And in light of everybody's time, we try to limit this to 10 individuals so that we go no further than 30 minutes and we can get into the business at hand. The first individual is Mr. Whitehead. Mr. Whitehead? You got the phone?
I do.
Okay.
Have some prepared items I'm going to submit to you.
Just remind me in 3 minutes, would you like a 1 minute?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Just a meal. Press.
Thank you.
Press. Before I start, I'd like to say that by giving this to you, I think it constitutes filing in advance of the vote on Resolution 2409. So on the third page, under the third whereas, it says you haven't received any objections before the vote, so now you've received one. In November 2023, 3,057 voters of the Elk Creek Fire Protection District rejected the consolidation with the North Fork FPD and the Inter Canyon FPD, winning by 132 votes. In our exceptional nation, the results of the ballot box are to be accepted without exception. Now, about 10 months later, under the cry of unification, the exclusion, inclusion, and dissolution process in CSR Title 32, the boards of the 3 districts are hurtling towards overriding the will of the voters of the Elk Creek Fire Protection Districts. I was stunned by this turn of events. If we value our democracy, how can this happen? And I'm worried that the Elk Creek Board's reckless behavior will negatively impact the ability of Elk Creek Fire Protection District to obtain mill levy increases in the future. In 2019, voters approved a 5 mill levy increase by 66% in both Jefferson and Park counties. In November of 2023, the conversion of an expiring 2.5 mill levy to a permanent status got 60% of the vote, a decrease, and the mill levy increase yoked to a yes on consolidation only got 48%. The Elk Creek Board and Fire Chief are moving ahead with the unification process as if the voters' rejection of consolidation 10 months ago never happened. I asked each board member during deliberations for this resolution, if voting yes, to present their reason for overriding the will of the voters of the Elk Creek Fire Protection District done in November 2023. It is my opinion that the decision to override the ballot box constitutes folly and will be seen by the courts and the electors of Elk Creek Fire Protection District as such. Board members do not waste tens of thousands of dollars of taxpayer money, find 2 persons to run for board seats in May 2025 that want consolidation/unification. Hopefully we'll find 2 that do not. You will have your chance for a second bite at the apple. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whitehead. Mr. Pellegrin.
I am John Pellegrin.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please
perfect.
forgive me. I had
It's never happened to me before.
John Pellegrin. Well, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I am a resident of the North Fork Fire Protection District, and though our districts are very different, we have all the land and no people. You have all the people and not much land. Given that difference, the study that was done in terms of consolidation showed that Elk Creek called upon North Fork more to help more times than North Fork called upon Elk Creek. So clearly there's some synergism to having both fire departments working together. They work together on the wildland, Conifer Wildland District. They work beautifully together. It's working everywhere I know about. And I think that there's a positive synergy working between the departments that we should continue. The difference from when the consolidation was voted on and what you will be voting on now, the big difference is the taxes will go down, they're not going up. I bet if the vote were taken again with that provision, then it would be far, I think it would just plain pass.
1 minute.
And I wanted to tell you, my family has been involved with the fire department, but on the administrative side. My husband was the secretary at North Fork for 7 years. I followed him as the president for 8 years. So I'm familiar with the things the board deals with. And never during either of our terms did we have the privilege to propose and vote for a tax decrease. I think you're missing a bet if you vote to keep the taxes the same when you have the option to have your taxes decreased. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pellegrin. Mr. Leo.
Good evening, my name's Al Leo. I live at 19293 Silver Ranch Road in Conifer. I'm a resident of Elk Creek Fire Protection District and pay taxes to the district. You know, we'd like to speak about the need for unification. And if we kind of start with the strategic plan that was recently released, you know, the mission statement of the district is to encourage and promote life safety and risk reduction, to provide fire suppression and emergency services, and to make our mountain community a safe place to live and work. Then when you look at the vision statement, the vision is to provide the most effective services for our evolving community. That's part of that mission statement. You know, then when you take a look that every member of this district, from the chief all the way down, career and volunteer, they take an oath to protect us and to serve us through providing emergency medical services and firefighting services. These folks also wear the Maltese Cross, which means they're willing to put their life down to save our life. So why do I say that? When this group says something, I listen. When this group says they need help to provide the types of services and to meet the oaths that they have taken, I think we need to listen. I believe Chief Ware and the other chiefs, when they say unification is the best way forward. They're experts. They have lifelong careers in fire service. The challenges they articulate: staffing, lack of volunteers, retention, equipment, facilities are all real here, and they have shared with us, plus they're echoed from many other sources. All right, 2023, Colorado Department of Fire Prevention and Control. We need an additional over 1,000 career firefighters, 1,300 volunteer firefighters. All right, 2020 annual report, Colorado Fire Commission. The challenges facing Colorado's fire service are not unique. Costs and impacts continuing to increase, and many fire departments are facing shortages of volunteers and budgets. The National U.S. Forest Service has lost 45% of its employees in the last 3 years. They've struggled with staffing shortages, but the challenges have intensified amid a hyper-competitive labor market and cost of living concerns. All right? You pick your head up and you look around, all of these things are going on here. The Denver Gazette reporting on the Colorado Wildfire Matters Review. Fire departments across the Front Range are actually fighting each other for applicants. We hear that from Chief Ware regularly. You know, we hear in these meetings that we are provided mutual aid. All right, I urge you to vote yes on the modification to the IGA.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo. Mr. Koch.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
We can hear
Yes,
you,
sir.
Flip.
Okay, so members of the Elk Creek Fire Protection District's Board of Directors, good evening. Thank you for the privilege of addressing you all here tonight. My name is Flip Koch. I reside in the Wombly Valley planning area of Elk Creek Fire Protection District, where I both pay property taxes and am a volunteer. To begin, I congratulate Fire Chiefs Sherlaw, Rogers, and Ware for their courage in pursuing unification of the Intercanyon, North Fork, and Elk Creek FPDs. The issues that caused the consolidation proposal last November have not gone away simply because of those November ballot initiatives' narrow defeat in Elk Creek. It passed handily both North Fork and Intercanyon, as well as by aggregate votes across all 3 fire protection districts. Let me gently remind all here present what we are all about at Elk Creek and the other 2 FPDs. Punctual, non-law enforcement emergency services of quality. Those of us on the inside know for a fact and keep telling you all that we cannot continue to provide such services with the current model. A change is needed, and this is the second one proposed. The main complaints about the prior consolidation proposal, in my humble opinion, ill-informed and poorly reasoned, were that 1, there was no, quote, strategic plan, quote, 2, property taxes would increase, and 3, it would somehow remove local political agency. Now, 1, a more detailed strategic plan was commissioned and presented here several meetings ago. 2, under unification, property taxes would in fact decrease in today's Elk Creek. And 3, political agency will not be removed. It will simply apply to a larger area. Change is coming whether we are ready or not. We see its harbingers in increased incident volume and acuity. It is always easiest to say no and try to avoid change. We can blithely put our heads in the sand and await catastrophe, or we can bravely try something new that is recommended by consultants, but more importantly, by the professionals, the leaders, the 1/3 salary, the 2/3 volunteer who serve this community. What we do in emergency response should never be about preserving the local political playground at the expense of public service. That is the tail wagging the dog, and it's dangerous. You'd think we were still in middle school student government. When the time comes for a vote, I strongly urge you members of the board to vote in favor of the proposal to unify our 3 FPDs. Do not listen to the henny pennies out there. The sky will not fall if you do. Instead, we residents and all will benefit from better emergency service, and everyone, service provider and service recipient alike, will be safer as a result. I know no member of any of these 3 FPDs, salaried or volunteer, who believes otherwise. So, believe those of us who actually do this work for you, or believe the local politicos who know not how emergency responders work, but are eager to tell you how to do it anyway.
Thank you, Mr. Koch. Thank you very much, Mr. Koch. All right, our next speaker is Ms. Rothman.
Good evening. I'm here to speak on support of unification as a resident of Elk Creek Fire District. I believe together we are stronger, unified as one conifer evergreen conifer fire. As mentioned in the video, that was very well put together with a lot of good information and well distributed. We are all very much aware of what this means and the details associated with it. Particularly, I'm excited for this position that will allow us to apply for bigger grants on all levels. I know that we're talking about big picture, but I really like to go ahead and chip away those grants that we are, that we'd be positioned to really be able to go after as a bigger fire district. I'm also really excited as an ambassador that this would help us spread information, accurate information to the residents about fire safety, both big and small. Showing this unified front to the community and other communities shows that we are serious about wildfires and emergency responses. Wildfires do not happen in a bubble. We depend on our neighbors, and our neighbors depend on us. It is as simple as that. So let's secure this relationship, secure our future, and I encourage you all to vote for unification tonight.
Thank you very much. Ms. Noonan.
You can give me that recording thing.
1 minute.
Okay. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Kathleen Noonan. I live up on Warhawk Road, and I am a resident of the Elk Creek Fire District. I've attended lots of these meetings over the last year, and I just felt like I needed to speak up and voice my support for unification. I'm a registered professional engineer, has nothing to do with firefighting. My husband's a recently retired West Metro firefighter. He was a firefighter, paramedic, and a wildland firefighter. I've been a professional engineer for almost 30 years. People rely on me for my expertise. You know, they come to me when they have a problem with their soils, their bedrock, their foundations. I rely on firefighters for their expertise. So when every firefighter I've taken the time to get to know up here takes their time to educate me about the need for consolidation, unification, bringing these fire districts together, I'm going to listen to them because they know best and they know what's needed in order to keep my family, my neighbors, my community safe. We've had more calls than ever this year where resources have been split, where Elk Creek hasn't been able to respond to everything because they were focused on a very severe fire, motor vehicle accident, what have you. With these three districts combined, they can, unite forces and have that overlap and have that redundancy and have that high level of service that we've become accustomed to going into the future to hopefully avert any kind of potential crisis, because as we all know, we live in one of the highest fire danger districts in the country. We've all seen it with our homeowners insurance premiums going through the roof because they're like, you are in high fire danger country. Well, when the firefighters that I know are telling me that what's in the best interest to keep us safe is for them to unify, I'm going to believe them. Because I really believe that unification is the best way to be proactive rather than reactive. And I just wanted to voice my 100% support behind these heroes that we have here in these three districts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nunn. Mr. Buer, did I say that correctly? And if I didn't, I apologize. B-E-H-U-E-R, Buer?
No, it's Mark Boehner. Did I not spell it right? Didn't spell my own name right.
It's been a long week.
B-E-H-N-E-R.
Oh, I'm sorry. It looks like a U, sir.
Sorry.
I beg your pardon.
Greg's not wearing his glasses.
No.
Hello, my name is Mark Boehner. I live in White Deer Valley. We are an HOA community that's on the very east side of Inter Canyon Fire Protection District. I'm also part of the HOA board there. White Deer Valley is in Inter Canyon, and North Fork is considering including all properties in Inter Canyon as well as Elk Creek. This includes White Deer Valley and my property in the North Fork. Our residents at the HOA, and that means 100% of our residents, are opposed to this effort. First of all, White Deer Valley has filed a petition to exclude Inter Canyon, which is pending before the Inter Canyon Board. So inclusion of all properties in the North Fork is premature and improper. Further, White Deer Valley has concerns that the intergovernmental process being considered here by the three districts violates the spirit and letter of the Special District Act, and that insufficient notice to the community of this renewed consolidation without a vote of the residents raises further legal considerations. A letter has been sent by our attorneys to all three districts, notifying of all our objections here that I stated. Just as a personal note, you talk about response time, you talk about service to the public, everything. Our little peninsula that's on the east side of Inter Canyon is on the furthest part of their central issue. And so to respond to a medical emergency in our area will take probably around 20 to 40 minutes. And in fact, we have documentation of that. And so we wanted to be excluded from Inter Canyon and included we have inclusion into West Metro. West Metro is approximately 6 to 8 minutes away. And so that is our concern, and that's what we're trying to get excluded from Inter Canyon and included in West Metro. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Goodman. All right, Mr. Gittleman.
Hi, I'm Steve Gittleman, Oak Creek District resident. I'm in favor of unification, and this is why. I've learned in life it's best to listen to the experts. In this case, the three chiefs are the experts. And, you know, if they're coming to my house to fight a fire, I'm going with their plan because I don't know how to fight a structure fire, just like I don't know how to run a fire department. I've watched the video that was posted online with Chief Sherlaw, and I think the chiefs make a very convincing argument for unification. So that's what I'm going with. I also heard Chief Sherlaw say that this is the voters' will. And I said, wait, what? That's not what we said last November. So here's the fact check on that. 7,889 citizens voted last November. 4,261 voted yes, that's 54% of the three districts. 3,628 voted no, that's just 45.9%. So Chief Sherlaw is correct, that is the voters' will, is to unify and consolidate. So based on the opinions of the experts and the will of the voters, I'm asking you to move forward with unification. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Burdette.
Good evening, my name is Amy Burdette, and I am a resident of the Elk Creek Fire Protection District. I encourage the board to support unification and vote yes to bringing the three fire districts together in one. I think, as was mentioned before, it supports the effort that has been going on to bring our smaller groups into one, just like the Conifer Wildland Division, I believe is the right name. And that is in our district and made up of our groups, and it's working together for more than a short time. And I see that that is an advantage that I have noticed in the community and that I do support. In addition to my support, I'd like to use the remainder of my time to read the comments that have been on the Facebook posting of unification. So comments from other members of the community, which were added to after watching the video and reading the several paragraphs about what unification was. There are comments including, "This is wonderful news, thank you. Excellent decision. We're fortunate to have three fire chiefs with the vision to evolve as Conifer evolves. I look forward to seeing Conifer Fire grow. Very much looking forward to being a resident of Conifer Fire Protection District. Different logo, same heroes," with the heart emoji. "Excited for the future." Then we have, "You're all miracle workers. Thanks for this and all of your hard work. Thanks to all three fire chiefs for their dedication to our volunteer fire departments and for understanding the need to keep our mountain communities safe. We'll get there with the forward thinking that these three provide our communities with. Wonderful news, I totally support this. Thank you so much for caring about our community with all of your hearts and for everything you do for us." Smiley face, thank you hands, pink heart emoji, and blue heart emoji. "Awesome news, support 100%. Thank you, great information here. Hope this is adequate resources to meet the needs." And then we have a question. "If unification without mill levy increase is possible, then why was a mill levy unification with mill levy proposed? Just curious." Elk Creek Fire Department responded to that comment saying, "That's a great question. Last year we asked voters to approve consolidation and to increase mill levy for Elk Creek and North Fork. Voters overwhelmingly approved consolidation, indicating they understood the need for to work together and to overcome our challenges. At the same time, voters were also worried about the increase in valuations of their homes and what that would mean for their budgets if we increased their taxes. And we heard that concern. We did receive a bump thanks to those valuation increases and determined that we can now operate on the current projected income for now. However, this will mean scaling back our infrastructure needs, and we will reevaluate in the future.
Time.
Thank you very much. Ms. Wagner?
My name is Jody Wagner, and I'm a resident of the fire district. I was intimately involved with the fire district beginning in 2003 for about 9 years and volunteered a lot of my personal time, staying up at night when the guys were on structure fires, making them burritos, taking food to trainings. And I just want you to understand that what I have to say is not about disrespecting our fire department. I love them and I appreciate everything they do. However, I have tremendous concern because this board solicited a report called the Triton Report. They paid a lot of money for that, and it included a lot of information about how consolidation would look and how it would work. It indicated mill levies that nowhere near approached 16 mills, which was in the ballot, to try and sustain a consolidated district. However, what we are doing now is less than what that Triton report said would sustain a consolidated district. So you can absolutely guarantee that future tax increases will be a part of what we need to vote on in order for this to be successful. And even more concerning is the fact that our volunteerism is on the decline nationally across the board for every organization. And this board has still yet to do things to address recruitment, retention, recognition, and reward of volunteers. And they are an essential part of the success of this fire district. And if we do not force them to deal with the issue at hand, which is we need more volunteers, we need more training, and we need more incentives and rewards for volunteers to give up time with their families and to support our fire district. And they are choosing to focus solely on consolidation, which is not sustainable unless we address our volunteers. And I am sick and tired of watching our board push something that is not going to be sustainable when we have great volunteers and we need many more of them. And where is the report on a consulting report on how we're going to improve what we do for our volunteers? Where are the budget dollars that are allocated to that? I can tell you personally that any kind of rebranding effort involves a tremendous amount of money. We are going to change fire station names, badges, letterhead, business cards, engine signage. Nobody is talking about how much money, how much of our tax dollars will be spent to rebrand. That does not benefit the taxpayers. It does not improve our level of service, and it is going to spend our money. And we still are not talking about what we can do to improve volunteers, to do things to appreciate all the time and energy they put into training.
Time.
Thank you, Ms. Wagner. I'm going to allow, due to this being a passionate issue, that we allow for our 11th public commenter tonight. Mr. Phillum, did I say that correctly?
Wonderful. Thank you for the concession. Appreciate it. Board members, I implore you to do not only what's right, but what works best for the community, and that's unification. And I'm quite certain at the end of the night, not only will we be a better community, a better protected community, but it's the right thing to have what you guys continually do. My despicable heroes, thank you all for what you do. Thank you for putting your lives out for all of us. Chief Ware, you're doing a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful job. Just a quick clarification with respect to Title 32. What has happened with the vote was that there was the efforts by the concerned citizens of Conifer misled our voters. This is a fact. I'm not just bringing this up as an opinion, but the Colorado Secretary of State certainly did the right thing by investigating the citizens, the concerned citizens, and found what they did was not only misleading voters by illegally using logos that they did not have appreciation to, they did not have authority to do so, but instead we had over, well, what, 150 voters come and say, hey, I was simply misled. I thought that what I was voting for only ended up to oppose it. So we've got people who were dishonest, who used a logo that they did not have authority to do so, to support the people that matter, the men and women who are putting their lives they're giving their lives and doing that, so what's best for our community. A few extra tax dollars, that doesn't hurt anything when we know the right thing is to protect our community. One bad fire, one bad issue, that could be as catastrophic and scary. I'm not fear-mongering, but what I worry about is we need better support and better competency from the board, one member, but thank you, the members who I do believe at the end of the night will show that unification was the right thing to vote for that. So I thank you all, particularly my firefighters. You're the best despicable heroes I've ever known in my life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That will lead us into our next agenda item, and that's to review the August 2024 regular meeting minutes. And I would remind my fellow board members that we did receive the updated July minutes that were presented in the package that did annotate the corrections made. So are there any additions, deletions, or corrections needed for the August meeting minutes?
I have none.
Additions, deletions, corrections? Last time, additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the August 2024 regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second? Or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. That motion passes. And that leads us into Treasurer Wood's financial matters.
So I'm going to start this with a little bit of a caveat. September 4th, I received financial ledger, and I used that report to prepare my financials. So what I'm going to say is that some of the numbers you see, some of the numbers I'm going to discuss are going to be different than the numbers that are in the packet. The reason for that is between September 4th and September 12th, which is when the second report was done, there were entries made. No apologies, I was on vacation. Prepared all this on vacation, so I had a nice vacation. And so therefore, some of the numbers that I'm going to talk about will be different in the board packet. I want to make sure all the board members realize that before I continue. Any questions from the board members before I continue?
Understood.
No, okay. Next slide. Perfect. Oh, it's the same slide I'm looking at. Awesome. So this is the revenue numbers for August 2024. Total budget for the year is $7,001,515. Current revenue actuals are $6,115,305, and against a budget of $5,394,633. So our revenue is coming in over the budgeted amount. It's something we always look forward to. Next slide. Expenses. The expense budget for 2024 is $6,370,604. Current expenses came in at $4,198,605 against a budget of $3,376,417. I'll get into details on the difference in the two numbers as we proceed. Slide. Because revenue is actually over budget and expenses are over budget, net income is still looking okay. We are expecting net income this year of $630,911. That's about even with 2023, so we're considering our net income is going to be flat from 2023 to 2024. Current actual net income is $1,916,620 against a forecast of $2,018,216. We're very close, mostly because revenue is up, but also expenses are up. We're still looking like we're going to make the numbers that we have. Next slide. Let's talk about property taxes. Next slide, please. Yeah. Property tax. So property taxes is our biggest revenue number by far. It's over 61% of the total revenue that is recognized in the budget for revenue, for property tax revenue for 2024 is $4,535,365. Actual year-to-date property tax is $4,871,647 against a budget of $4,441,000. So the good news is that the revenue is actually exceeding the budgeted amount. Because expenses are also exceeding the budgeted amount. Your income is expected to be flat this year versus last year. Just to give, next slide, sorry. Just to give everybody an idea of what property tax revenue looks like, this always amuses me, is we have a peak in March, and most people pay their property taxes, and we have a little bit more, we have a little bit less of a peak in July, and then pretty much revenue pretty much becomes very flat for the remainder of the year. Next slide. So let's talk about labor. Labor is like revenue, it is our largest expense amount. It is over 61% of the total amount of expenses that we have at the fire department. So the budget for this year for labor, and again, this is, and I know we have some new people here, SURF revenue is for revenue that we receive for out-of-district fires. So when we go out-of-district, I'll give you a good example. The Quarry fire was actually in Inner Canyon District proper, but Elk Creek assisted with that Quarry fire. So to Elk Creek, that was an out-of-district fire. Just a side note, if we were all in district, it wouldn't be an out-of-district fire. It would be an in-district fire. So if we unify, it's all the same district. So labor is at, actual in August is it without out-of-district labor, is at $2,325,955 against a budget of $1,826,073. A note about the budget for labor. The budget, when it was put together for labor, was based on 2023, extrapolated to go into 2024 with raises, etc., and additional people, etc. But the budget for 2024 labor did not include overtime, so it's a little bit low because there's no overtime included. And it also did not include the fact that Inner Canyon reimburses us for services that are shared, so labor that's shared. So the budget for 2024 is something I would like to look at going forward the rest of the year to work, because I think we need to true up the budget to what it really is. Thanks. Next slide. So there have been more fires in 2024 than there were in 2023. More out-of-district fires where we send people to help with that because we have really good people. So we're in demand, right? So as of the end of August, there were 43 out-of-district fires. In July, when we had our board meeting, actually in August when we had our board meeting to report July, there were 18 out-of-district fires. So we had, between that time and now, we've had an additional 25 out-of-district fires, some of them quite severe. Through August, there were 33 fires, and then in September, as of when I received the report, there were 10 more out-of-district fires. So if you look at this graph, our budget for the district, so labor is $926,204. But if you look at the trajectory for actuals, it's a lot larger than the budget. And the reason for that is because of the increase in the number of fires out of district. Next slide. So this is something that I present because I think people need to understand the amount of money that is involved in out-of-district fires. To date, we have, as of the end of August, we submitted $1,299,870 to the state for asking for reimbursement. At this point, they have paid at the end of August, they paid $221,735. That leaves $1,078,135 that has not yet been reimbursed to Elk Creek. So at some point, we hope those numbers come a little closer together in terms of reimbursement for this. Just a little bit closer, what do you think? Greg, you're laughing at me. Okay, so this is as of the end of August. So the next slide, if you'll go to the next slide. Since the end of August, we have had additional fires in September. We have now submitted $1,524,146, which is more than I just showed you for the end of August. This is because of the September fires. Year-to-date reimbursement is at $229,120. It went up a little bit because we got reimbursed for one more fire. Year-to-date expenses for surf, labor, and then expenses, travel expenses, equipment expenses, is $848,587. And reimbursement not paid at this point is $1,295,526. So it's a little further apart than it was on the last slide. Next slide. Expenses as of the 31st of August, actual monthly expenses recorded in the ledger provided to me were $630,128. This is not the amount in the board packet of board members because that report was produced after the report I used. So at this point, expenses for the month of August, $635,574. And so I make a motion to approve the $635,674, which is right now the August expenses.
Oh, can I just get a quick clarification? There is a slight difference between 635,574 and 635,674. What are we approving?
It's 574.
574. Director Woods has made a motion to approve the budget expenses for 635,574. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion on the motion?
Yeah.
I have some.
Yes, sir.
Questions. So on page 1 of our income statement, in the income line, we have ambulance billings of $452,120.
Director, maybe can you give us a page number real quick? And
Yeah, page 1.
Real quickly.
Page 1.
Page 1. Okay.
So we have, this is billing income. And then the next line down, which is the one that I'm confused about, it says ambulance billings MCR/MCD adjusted. And that's minus 140,342. What is that?
That's basically, Gina, if you want to talk to it, that's fine, or you can fill in after I finish.
I was going to say, go ahead, I'll fill in.
That's basically the fact that people who are covered by Medicare or Medicaid, we don't necessarily get paid as much, so that is the
So
negative of that.
it's that adjustment
Yes,
for
it is.
non-payment. Gotcha.
Chief, did you have anything else?
Yeah, that's exactly it. The state also has a program for reimbursement on that we apply for every year based on the amount of people on Medicaid and Medicare that we transport.
So we've gone after all of the dollars we can, but we've come up short by 140,000
Yeah,
year to
Medicare.
date.
Yeah, Medicare and Medicaid usually pays, it's right around 25 cents, 20 cents on the dollar.
Right. So then on page 6, expenses for leases and capital. Capital EMS, we have year-to-date, 179,443. Can you explain, somebody explain what that is, that payments on the bill of the 2 ambulances?
Correct. Yeah, the ambulance has been kind of coming in piecemeal. We have to pay one part at a time, so we had to pay for the 2 chassis, and we had to pay for the pram, the stretcher, and the auto load.
So the year-to-date of 179,000 rough represents what percentage of, is that 50% of 2 ambulances, or how would you characterize it?
It's probably closer to full. I mean, it's probably 35-40%
of
the
2 ambulances that we have built.
Yeah.
Any news on when they will be
They are
fully built out?
We finally got a delivery date. Well, a delivery date should supposed to be second quarter, so we're hoping spring of 25 is when they'll go to those.
Okay.
But they haven't given us an official date. It's been soft with spring, so we're hoping they should be in service before next summer. That's our fingers crossed.
That's all.
Okay,
That's all I have.
Thank you, Director Wood. Any other discussion on the motion? Discussion on the motion. Again, the motion was made by Director Woods that approve the Sage Financial Ledger expenses recorded for August 2024 of $635,574. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? All right, that leads us to our next item of business, Chief Ware's report. Chief.
All right.
All right, well, across the district, firefighters are busy with events and calls to wrap up summer. We had several structure fires as well as fire assignments that kept all the firefighters moving. Wildland fire danger started to moderate in the district with monsoon moisture patterns. It came in kind of the tail end of the quarry fire. It kept the structure fires from spreading into the vegetation, as well as some solid mitigation practices on one of the structure fires. With lower fire danger, we were able to send more firefighters out to assist other agencies across the western United States. We've been very busy with public events as well as working on the 24 budget. Preliminary numbers from Park and Jeffco indicate a flat budget for 2025. Volunteer firefighters had 66 hours of staffing at Station 1. We averaged 2.9 members per call, and 17% of our calls overlapped, and our average response time was 10:21. Nothing really out of the ordinary. Obviously, it was up from last year with a total of 129 runs. We did have 6 fires, several area acuity structure fires. Everything else is about normal. Mutual aid, this is a different tracking of mutual aid. There was some more clarification and transparency on that, so we kind of put that down. Obviously, we are continuing with our trend of providing a lot more than we were receiving, a lot more than we were providing. Transports, it is interesting, no matter what our calls are, our transports are kind of staying the same. 34 transports down, even though we had a lot more runs. We had 121 hours of training for the month. Fire prevention, we had 10 inspections, 16 letters, county referrals, and insurance requests. The insurance requests are coming almost daily right now. Insurance challenges are real up here. I think all of us, if you live up here, you're experiencing it. We are getting almost one a day emails regarding insurance. How can we help? What do we do? Our insurance rates are going up. It's a real challenge up here. Collaborating with line staff to work on some pre-fire plans and building construction training. In October is Fire Prevention Month. This year's theme from NFPA being smoke alarms, make them work for you. We'll be scheduling some school visits to provide education and outreach. And facilities, we did have to spend some money at Station 3. The skylights that were same as Station 2, they were put in when the building was built in the early 80s. Big surprise, it started leaking, so we had to get them removed. And, that's about it. We have the wildland report as well. Probably highlights there, chipping. The chipping program continues. 2 more house group 4s completed. What is interesting is 1,115 cubic yards of material have been chipped to date, which is well over last year's total biomass numbers, and we are 3/4 of the way through, which is obviously people are interested, people are utilizing it, but it is a lot. We've kind of tried to augment our system, running 2 trucks, trying to get more people involved in it. And the guys are keeping up, but it is pretty tremendous that we've already reached last year's numbers. That's all I got.
I love thank you for that amendment.
Does that work? Is that kind of what you're
Yes,
looking for?
that
Okay.
is exactly what I was hoping to see. Thank you.
Any questions for the chief? Thank you, chief. Right, that leads us into old business. I don't believe we have any old business. I believe that everything has been addressed, and that will lead us into new business. First item of new business is the First Amendment to the pre-consolidation IGA. In light of the parliamentary process, I would like to entertain a motion that we approve the First Amendment to the pre-consolidation IGA so we can get a second and get into discussion.
So moved.
All right?
Second.
Okay. So there is a motion to approve the First Amendment to the pre-consolidation IGA. Let's open it up to discussion. We've all been in receipt of the document. Does anybody have any questions? Any comments? Any need for yes or
Question.
no?
So this is for council.
Council?
John? Question for council?
Yes.
Yeah. So John, having read the First Amendment here to the pre-consolidation IGA, what is the timeline contemplated here? Can you just sort of give us the big picture?
Mm-hmm.
What happens first after tonight? Let's say we approve this. What goes second, third, fourth? How does it end up?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess to start, there's 2 separate, proposed action items on the agenda. This first one that you're discussing right now is simply the amendment to the pre-consolidation IGA. So this is building off of the previous IGA that the 3 districts entered into. And essentially, what you see in that amendment is just the change to the process. There's kind of some clarifications to make it consistent throughout. But that's basically what this First Amendment is doing. It's providing revisions to that standing IGA to just basically change the process that's being used. So that's kind of overall that First Amendment piece. As far as really the timeline is kind of the second action item, but essentially what's contemplated is an inclusion-exclusion dissolution process within Title 32. This is unique to fire protection districts. The primary provision is in 32.1501 1.5, and essentially it allows for a fire protection district to exclude property if another fire district agrees that they'll include it immediately upon exclusion. So the general process is set forth in the statute. There's specific requirements that you have to go through. So the initiation of the process is the second action item considered for tonight, which is the initial approval of the resolution. Essentially, it's the board saying, I guess starting in the beginning, if you approve the First Amendment, this is now the process we're using. And then the consideration for the second on the resolution, that's the initial resolution, kind of the proposal, if you will, to the public, that this is now the process we're moving forward on. That would then trigger a specific notice requirement. There's going to be a public hearing set in relation to that for the final consideration of that resolution. So ultimately tonight really is the First Amendment is kind of the confirmation that we'll use this process, and then the second action item, the resolution, is really the initiation of that statutory process. So it's not, tonight's decision, if you will, is not the final decision as far as the actual exclusion itself. It really just kickstarts the process. There'll be a published notice and a mail notice that goes out related to the public hearing date. I believe it's November 21st is the, I don't know if that is going to change based on, that's close to potentially the holiday. Maybe that's the week before. So I didn't know, I think that was the date that was talked about and used in the resolution. I believe it was November 21st. But that's going to be what goes out as the notice.
John, November 21st for what? The notice or?
No, for the public hearing. That's the public hearing date.
Yeah, that's.
For the final consideration of the resolution.
Yeah,
So
that's
the
the
notice,
public hearing date.
yes.
So backing up from that, tell us about notification. When does that happen? What are the requirements?
So there'll be a published notice, so there'll be Canyon Courier published notice on that, for that public hearing date. And then also there's a specific mailed notice requirement. So actually every address in the district will get a notice on kind of the basic outline of this is the process that's happening, and this is the public hearing date that you can come and provide input.
So what is the notice requirement given in that letter and in the published Canyon Courier publishing? What are those?
As far as like back from the hearing, you mean? Kind of when does that have to go out?
Yeah, I mean, is it like 30 days, 14 days?
There's no specific time requirement for the published notice, so that's kind of usually reasonable. You know, for something like this, we'll get it done pretty quickly, and it'll be published, you know, well in advance. The mailed notice is more specific. It's no more than 45 days before, or no less than 30.
So not more than 45 days, but no less than 30.
Yeah, so you basically just hit a window.
Right.
And I believe that works out to about October 2nd to the 17th-ish, is when that time is.
So will these letters be to the property owner specific, wherever they reside?
It'll be based on the assessor records. So whatever, if you're the property owner.
Whatever the address of record is.
Yeah.
And the corporation or individual,
Yeah,
it would go to them.
If you specify a different preferred mailing address, depending on how that is reflected in the assessors. So I think the default property owner list is the address, the physical address, but sometimes, particularly in the mountains, you know, you might have an alternative. So yeah, that's kind of depends on what is in the assessor record for how you get official communications from the county.
So, but it will go to every residential and commercial address.
Yep.
Whether there's a house on the property or business.
As long as it's got an address.
Yeah. As long as there's an address, it gets a personalized letter.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. So the contemplated date for the public hearing, tell us about that process. So on the 21st of November, what will happen? What opportunity does the public have to address the board? What are the sort of mechanisms in place to, you know, during the process and then following up on the process?
So there'll be, similarly, the agenda will list a specific public hearing on the particular issue, so on the resolution itself. And it'll be the same resolution that you have tonight, essentially very similar to more of a municipal structure where you have, tonight would be considered the first reading, and then November 21st would be the second reading for final approval. So there'll be initially a public hearing where you entertain any kind of public comment related specifically to the resolution on exclusion. And so you take that, you know, testimony as part of that process, and then the board would deliberate on the action for final approval of the resolution.
Yeah. What are the requirements for the testimony, for the deliberation? What are the legal issues that the board will be looking at that hearing?
So from the testimony standpoint, you know, typically it's still the same rules apply as far as, you know, it's still typically a 3-minute time limit, you know, for each speaker to kind of keep it moving. Again, sometimes that can potentially be adjusted if, you know, you have a lot of folks. You can kind of get creative. So sometimes you can kind of see how that's going to go to make it efficient. You know,
so we have
some
a little bit of flexibility there.
Typically, yeah, the most common is if there's kind of specific groups, you know, that want to make a statement, as opposed to having, you know, maybe 8 people stand up and say the same thing for 3 minutes. Just say, hey, can you designate a speaker? And then, you know, have them kind of give the position for a group, and that can kind of move things along. So, you know, we'll see how that process unfolds for the public hearing, but typically it's the same kind of general rules as your typical public comment period, but this public hearing will be specific to the the resolution itself.
So what issues will, again, the board be looking at during the hearing?
So primarily, as far as the resolution goes in the statute, the exclusion statute has a list of statutory factors that you have to kind of make findings on.
Can you tell us what those are?
Yeah, and they are in your, I can reference the paragraph. They're in that resolution. I admit I don't have them memorized.
Chuck, it's page 2 of the actual
Yeah, page 2.
resolution, not
this-
the pre-consolidation agreement, the actual resolution.
On the resolution.
Yeah, it's like towards the end of
So
the
these are the, under this third whereas or fourth whereas?
Yeah, where it starts with A, the exclusion of property will be.
Yeah, the lettered subparagraphs, it's under the second whereas at the top of page 2 of that resolution.
So basically, we'll be deciding on whether the exclusion of the property is in the best interest of the property owner, of Elk Creek, of the county, so forth.
Yeah, cost and benefit.
So we'll look at all of these issues.
Yeah, and those, the A through I come right out of the 32-1501 exclusion statute.
Right.
So those are essentially the statutory provisions for exclusion.
So basically, the public or a business owner, whatever, can present evidence for or against or what have you to the board, and then we will review that evidence. And what is our burden at that point? At the board?
Ultimately, I mean, it still comes down to the, board majority as far as what you all feel, meets those statutory factors. There's not a specific, legal bar that necessarily attaches, but ultimately it's going to be up to the board's deliberation and what's presented. But you all ultimately, have the authority to make that determination based on those statutory factors.
So let's say the board makes the determination that exclusion is in the best interest of these factors. What is next in the process?
So then it moves somewhat, pretty similar to how we discussed it in the last year with the consolidation, is basically it moves to a court process after that. So once the boards have each taken action, the North Fork Board would file their inclusion resolution. So essentially confirming that North Fork is saying, yes, we will agree to include these properties immediately upon exclusion. And then Intercanyon and Elk Creek, if everyone has approved them, would then follow up with those filings and essentially prove to the court, this was the process that was followed, these are the resolutions of the board, and then the court would issue a court order of exclusion and inclusion, and those are the documents that are actually used and recorded in the county records to trigger the assessor to change the jurisdictional boundary.
Right. What about budgets and all of that sort of thing? Is that post court order?
Yeah, there's always a certain degree of...
Or is it, or do we do that first and then go to court? And do all of the districts go together to the same court hearing process? And noting that we have 3 counties involved, so there's really 3 courts. How does that all work? Can you explain that?
So it's all based on the court, or the district court of the county that you are organized in. So that's the only court that you have to go to for the filing, like for example, for Elk Creek. We would use the North Fork resolution to assist in obtaining the court order of exclusion within Elk Creek's organizational file.
So North Fork is in 2 counties, right? As is Elk Creek, right? And Intercanyon is only in 1 county, so they're good. So do we go to each of these courts, or do we just go to, I mean, we're organized in 2 counties. So do we go to our county court as well as the Jefferson County Court?
No, only Jefferson
Only
County.
to Jefferson County, because That's where we were initially organized.
Yeah, so when you say organized, it was actually where the petition for organization was filed.
Of this district
Of the
was
district,
filed. It was
yes.
filed in the Jefferson County Court.
And when that happens, a court file is open, because part of it has, a court process when you
Right.
initiate the special district.
Yeah.
So that same organizational court file is what, even if this was just a single house, including in that organizational case file is what we do all those inclusion, exclusion filings in. So yeah, it'd just be the single Jefferson County District Court case.
So now what about the budgets and the mill levies and all of that good nitty gritty stuff? Where does it happen? I mean, at a high level, what happens?
Essentially, for each district, business as usual. So you'll still have kind of your individual district presentations and budgets, and you go through that process. But you're always kind of hedging, so there's going to be kind of a secondary, consolidated budget that is typically kind of in the wings and talked about as far as this is what it will look like. But ultimately,
let me clarify my question. So we're pre-court order, right? So we haven't gone to court yet. Are you saying that we just keep going as per usual? Then, but then let's say hypothetically that the court orders the unification, consolidation, really. What happens then? Do we go back to square one and start doing budgets again for the overall district? And then who does that?
So yeah, short answer, essentially yes, it'd be a kind of a form of budget amendment process, because remember, really what's happening is the current North Fork district is just getting substantially bigger. So that district, has a budget, right? They've approved a budget. The boundaries will just get extremely big, and the revenue will change and the expenses will change, right? So essentially it's going to be more of a budget amendment for North Fork, because they will have gone through, and North Fork is not going away, in this process. That's the kind of unique nature of this inclusion, exclusion piece, right? Two districts are just making a single district larger.
Right.
So it's going to be more of a budget amendment process for the unified district, the single district budget, to basically account for that change in revenue and expense for what is now kind of the new proposed Conifer Fire Protection District, but is kind of the successor to North Fork.
Now, does that have to go back to the court for approval, for final approval, or not?
Not to the court, no.
No, it doesn't have to go to the court. It's just the normal
Yeah, it would be an updated
state process.
Yeah, a DOLA filing. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Good questions. Any other discussion on the motion? Any other discussion on the motion?
You want to call the question?
Question has been called. Motion made to approve the First Amendment to the pre-consolidation IGA. All in favor?
I have an additional, I want to read into the record a statement of opposition. So for the following reasons, I oppose the adoption of this amendment to the pre-consolidation IGA, along with its required resolution of exclusion of the property owners of Elk Creek FPD. Given that the effect of this scheme will be to subvert, number one, subvert the majority will of the district voters. Under provisions of Colorado Revised Statutes, Title 32, Part 6, consolidation, this district submitted a consolidation question to the voters, and on November 7th, 2023, 3,057 or 51% of the voters turned down consolidation itself, while 3,103 or 52% of the voters of this district turned down an accompanying mill levy increase. District voters have spoken, dear directors. They do not want consolidation or unification by another name of the three fire districts, yet this scheme will, in my opinion, unlawfully attempt to use Title 32 statute itself to subvert the will of the voters. That cannot be. My objection number 2 is that this scheme will deny the residents due process of law. The present consolidation scheme that we're talking about tonight was developed behind the scenes, out of the view of district residents, and without their proper inputs. Therefore, the result will be that it unlawfully denies district residents their due process. My objection number 3 is that adopting this scheme will violate the fiduciary duty of the district board of directors. Under the provisions of Title 32, the Oak Creek FPD Board of Directors has a fiduciary duty to use the assets of this district to protect the health, safety, and welfare of its residents. However, under this consolidation scheme, these assets will be misspent in the vain attempt to provide an adequate level of service to the 240 square mile North Fork FPD, whose level of service is inadequate at the present time, and the 52 square mile Inner Canyon FPD, whose level of service is also inadequate. My 4th point is that district residents are not properly served by this inclusion process. Provisions of Title 32 of the Title 32 statute allow exclusion and inclusion of property only, quote, if the property to be excluded will be provided with the same level of service by another fire district, unquote. However, it is not possible for either North Fork FPD or a joined together Conifer FPD to provide the, quote, same service to the residents of Elk Creek FPD, and in fact, the level of service provided will be significantly diminished. Therefore, the proposed inclusion is impermissible under Title 32. My last point number 5, is that this scheme will raise the taxes of this district's residents. The accompanying resolution inaccurately alleges that the North Fork FPD mill levy is currently at 12.000 mills, and that the Elk Creek FPD mill levy is currently at 12.500 mills, thereby claiming that, quote, no election is required pursuant to Title 32. However, the actual mill levy rate certified by Jefferson and Douglas counties for North Fork FPD is 12.9860 mills, while the actual mill levy rate certified by Jefferson and Park counties for Elk Creek FPD is 12.5510 mils. Therefore, an election must be held regarding the proposed inclusion of current Elk Creek FPD residents into the North Fork FPD, since by statute, mill levy rates cannot be adjusted for the present improper purpose. That's the end of my statement.
Your objection has been noted and recorded. The question was called. All in favor of approving?
Sorry, Chuck, did you email that?
I did not email it, but I will.
Could
you also?
The question was called.
Yes, I
Thank you.
Again, the question was called. All in favor of approving the First Amendment to the pre-consolidation IGA? Raise your hand. Against? All right, the motion carries. That leads us to the second item under new business. The approval of Resolution 2024-5, Resolution and Order of Exclusion. As a point of process, I will again entertain a motion to approve the Resolution 2024-5, Resolution of Order of Exclusion, so we could get into discussion once a second has been received.
I so move. Second.
All right. Discussion on the motion. Discussion.
Just for clarification, this is just so that we can send it to public hearing.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to do. I have no additional questions. Chuck addressed and asked all of them.
Okay.
Yes. I enter my same objections into the record.
Annotated by our illustrious secretary. Once received, correct?
Yes.
In fact, it would be a good idea to send it to the entire board.
Speak up, please.
I think it would be a good idea to send your objections to the entire board.
Oh, I will.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
I wasn't sure that.
Of course,
you would,
yeah.
everybody. Thank you.
No, I always do.
Discussion on the motion. Last time, discussion on the motion. Motion made to approve the Resolution 2024-05, Resolution and Order of Exclusion. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Against? The motion carries. There is no other new business, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
And adjournment at 7:36 p.m. Thank you all for attending.